Sleep detectives are back. Can't tell. Can you tell we've just been giggling about lots of other things before we hit record? This is our second little episode each week where we answer questions that come in a question box, usually on one of our social medias during the week, and we just tackle the question as it comes. We haven't thought about it. We haven't answered them. Like, we're just shooting from the hip here, Bec.
We are.
So let's dive in. We're going to do 5. And I've got the question pool here. These came into a question box. Okay. Number 1 is, struggling with reverse cycle feeding. Do I offer more feeds in the day to get milk intake up? Before we answer, I think let's just articulate what reverse cycle feeding is for anyone that's listening to this and not quite sure. Reverse cycle feeding is where a baby is relying on all of their calories overnight and less interested during the day, whereas we want babies to take all of their calories during the day as we look to wean out unnecessary overnight feeds overnight. So that's what reverse cycling is. So the question is, do I offer more feeds in the day to get milk intake up?
You want to complete your feeds. So you want to, I think the idea is not necessarily increasing feeds through the day, but it's more about carefully managing your feeds, so completing feeds. So looking towards, popping those feeds in at appropriate times. So, maybe if it's a 6-month-old, we're working towards 4 hourly feeds through the day. So we're really focusing on completing a feed, creating an appetite for the next feed to be a really good one, and then working on, spreading them out through the course of the day, creating great appetite and completing the feed.
I think I think consolidating the feeds during the day is the focus, rather than, well, if I just feed 8 times during the day, that's not going to probably have the desired effect, because you're going to end up snacky, and then snacky babies during the day, snacky overnight. So it is about spacing the feeds, as you said, completing them, consolidating it. And I think to an extent, more often than not, we're working with babies with a degree of reverse cycle, maybe not fully fledged. They only feed overnight and barely want anything during the day. But we've got a lot of overnight feeds where a baby may genuinely be relying on these calories overnight. And so whilst we get those consolidated feeds in during the day, I wouldn't be looking to then go cold turkey overnight. Let's use your example of the 6-month-old baby. Great, we've got these anchored 4-hourly feeds in. It's complete. It's a full bottle. It's a full breastfeed. Now do I just drop everything overnight? No. If we're moving to 4-hourly feeds initially, let's say a baby was eating 8 times overnight, I would drop to 4-hourly feeds overnight, which usually sits somewhere between 11 and 2 or 3 a.m., something around there, and making those complete and consolidated feeds so that you can confidently do something else to resettle your baby, whether it's hands-on or a more traditional sleep training technique in between. And already you have started to break out of the reverse cycle feeding. And just know it can be an easy cycle to get into.
I think it's easier once you complete that first stage. So, for example, when you're doing the redistribution of calories, for a little one that is feeding a lot overnight, they are very picky. They can be. They've got the ability to be picky and choosy with what they have through the day, because their internal clock is wired to expect the majority of their calories overnight. So if you're coming off the back of a big night of feeding, then it can sometimes be a little bit tricky to establish those first 1 or 2 feeds of the day, because they are not overly hungry for them, but you've got to sort of persevere, and there can be a little bit of an uncomfortable moment during those first sort of 4 hours where you're really stretching baby, because now they're getting hungry and they kind of want their little 1-minute top-up feed that they're kind of getting. So you've got to have a little uncomfortable moment where you're sort of pushing the friendship a little bit just to get that 4-hour stretch.
Got to stretch. Yep.
Yeah. And then once you've got that 4-hour stretch and the appetite is there and your little one is then completing the feed, then you'll find that the next window will be easier because they're tanked up and ready to take that next gap. So initially it can be a little bit tricky, but, when you're switching things up, there is always an uncomfortable moment, no matter sort of what you do.
They're not in on this plan.
You're changing things. No, they're happy with the way things are. So I hope that helps.
Excellent. Okay, next one. strange one, it says. Strange one. What do you do if you both sleep through your morning alarm accidentally? Which I love. I love because we don't have early rising if this is the case. And you and I are constantly fixing early rising. So if you both sleep through your morning alarm accidentally, I mean, these things happen. It's definitely happened to me.
Oh, it's a nice thing to have.
Yeah. There are worse things to be troubleshooting. I think it depends on the degree of the sleep through. Like if we're aiming, let's say your alarm was set for 7, but at 7:40 you wake up and start your day. That's very different from, oh my goodness, we slept through until even 8:30, 9 o'clock, which sounds heavenly.
Yeah, it does.
I don't know if my own body clock would let me do that.
I'm sure that could only happen, surely, if you're in a hotel with those super dark, beautiful curtains that just block.
Okay, let me tell you,
world
segue.
out.
I know this is meant to be fast. I just had a weekend away with girlfriends and we all chose to have our own room because we never have our own space. This hotel room had electronic blackout blinds and I should have taken a video, but I actually felt quite unwell with the virus, and it was such not a waste, but I was like, this is
taking advantage of this.
I'm missing out. Yes, exactly, because I was up in the night being like, I need some Panadol. But oh my goodness, was that a delight? And I was like, this is how babies need to sleep. Yeah, this is how I need to sleep.
We need electronic blinds and pitch black curtains. Everyone does it.
It was, oh my goodness, the best ever. So sorry. I segued. What was your suggestion?
Okay, so my suggestion, I guess it depends on it depends on what routine you're on. I'm just going to go in with let's just say it's a 9-month-old on 2 naps, and you've slept until 7:30. What was the time frame? 7:30.
Doesn't say. Just slept through the morning alarm.
So let's just say 7:30, 8 o'clock, that we're waking up. Oh, glorious. That's fine. Oh, God, you're looking at the clock now like, oh, shit, how do I rescue the day? I would use your wake window that you're normally using. So, for example, if your little one woke at 7 for a 9-month-old, we're putting down at 9:30. If you're waking at 8 o'clock, you're going to still use that 2.5-hour wake window. So you're going to put your little one down at 10:30. You would actually cap the nap at 11 o'clock, and you would get your little one up because that's the sort of time frame that we would be waking a little one from their first nap anyway.
That's how you get back on track.
Yeah, you get back on track because you're just offering a little refresher just to take the edge off, but then it means that your lunch is going to stay at the same time, your second milk feed is going to stay at the same time, your second nap is also going to stay at the same time, so you've recovered the day at that point. That's how I would do it. Would you be similar?
No, I do. So I would definitely be capping the nap because just for me and where I sit on the parenting spectrum, I like to know what's coming next. I like to get the day back on track. Sometimes I do also find that if a baby has needed to sleep, they may have needed to sleep. And sometimes I then also watch for tired signs. And it may be that the next nap isn't, I mean, this is also depending on how much he slept in. But if it wasn't a dramatic sleep in, your baby may still be ready to go down, particularly for first nap of the day, at roughly the same time if the tired signs are there. And that they're actually just... Yeah, the internal clock is really strong, and that's something I definitely noticed with my own children because I was already like calculating wake windows and we're going to have to do this and that. And then I thought, oh, no, they look like they're ready for their normal snooze, maybe just like 15 minutes later. And I remember being always surprised. Sleep promotes sleep. So depending, otherwise I do exactly the same as you. Use the full wake window, but cap it so that you stay on track.
Yep.
Because I just don't want to be guessing and making it up as I go along for the whole day.
You're also using the internal clock, as your, to your advantage. So if you cap the nap, you're still... Everything else stays the same for the rest of the afternoon.
Everything else.
That's the theory
and your
behind
your scheduled baby, their little brain knows what's coming next.
Yeah,
they will still get tired at all the right times. Okay, rough sleep routine for a 22-month-old waking between 6:30 and 7 a.m.
I don't know about you, but I'm always like 22, 32 months old. We are doing some really... Okay, so almost 2.
Almost 2. Just under 2.
Almost 2. My ideal schedule sorry, just to jump the gun there, Sally, I'm taking
Go.
over this one. But my ideal schedule is waking somewhere between 6 and 7,
Hmm.
up for the day at 7.
Yep.
And then we're going straight into breakfast at this point, and then we are, having a mid-morning snack at some stage. I'm going in with lunch at 12 o'clock. We're doing good carb protein
Yep.
veg
Big lunch.
combo still, where we can. And then the lunchtime nap is 12:30 till 2:33 p.m. So 2.5 hours is ideal. And then 3 p.m.-ish awake, and then we're going in for a 7 o'clock bedtime. So I tend to use a 4-hour wake window still at this age to utilize that bedtime. So if little one is waking at 2:30, then bedtime would be 6:30.
Yep. And 3
4 and
o'clock,
a
we're
half
aiming for
hours.
7.
Yeah. 4.5 hours at an absolute push. Now, the reason why I would use a 4.5 hour wake window at this point is only if your nap is established at, say a 2-hour mark, and
Hmm.
maybe it's finished a little bit earlier than normal, or you can't get back home in time and something sort of pushed something out, then I would sort of go, okay, well, maybe 4.5 hours maximum. But I wouldn't be surprised if that might lead to some overtired wakings overnight, in which case you would sort of know that that's the reason.
I can't tell you because no notes. Same. What she said. I can't tell you the amount of pushback I got when I made an example sleep schedule based on that on social media, the outcry of that what they would deem as a short wake window and a huge
Oh,
long
yeah.
nap at this age. And yeah, it really surprised me because I thought, oh, isn't this so? It's actually really nice hearing,
standard.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, have I been doing? But then I was like, oh, but I just did this with a client and it worked. Sleep schedules are samples, if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. But this is where I'm absolutely with you, and it's actually really reassuring for me as
Yeah.
another sleep consultant to hear like,
Yeah.
oh gosh, no, I haven't been missing the mark this whole time.
No. And see, this is the thing, like there's other sleep consultants that might sort of, do a larger window and they're totally fine and everything works for them. I've been doing this for 11 years. Like it's never not worked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I roll with my jam, and, and my clients roll with it and they're happy and all the things. So it definitely can work. If you're doing
Absolutely.
longer wake windows and you're getting, no wakings overnight, everything's hunky dory. But if you are getting wakings overnight, that's your first point of
Then we
call.
pull back. Yep.
Yep.
Excellent. Okay. 11-month-old still wakes once in the night for a little feed, as doesn't take a dummy. Any tips? I'm going to dive in here, if that's all right, Bec. For
Yeah.
me, there is, and again, I don't know the full picture here, but for me, reading that question, I would see no correlation between not taking a dummy and having a feed overnight. This is about resettling. But first, I would want to know what is causing the overnight waking. Is there something that is not quite aligned in terms of sleep pressure, wonky wake windows, something? Then what time of the night is it even? But if I just look at it really generally, I would say, don't worry about a dummy. Forget the dummy. This may be that we just need to wean out this feed, but you need to have a consistent resettling technique to replace the feed with. That chances are baby is waking for this habit, this pattern, this sleep association, and it would be about whittling it right down and then replacing it with a consistent sleep training technique.
Yep, I'm in the same camp. I feel like often you can sort of see that it starts to become a habitual wake when the waking is happening at roughly the same time every day or every night. And then you're sort of thinking, well, gosh, they're having great solids and, milk feeds through the day. They're always waking bang on 3:15. I always have to rock back to sleep. I always have to feed back to sleep or whatever it might be. Babies are natural pattern seekers. They love to know what's coming up next. We always bang on about that. And their internal clock will wake for stimulation that is being repeated at the same time. So I am in agreement with you. You don't need a dummy to resettle that waking. You just need a consistent and confident approach to doing something different. And whether that's sleep training or rocking or holding back to sleep rather than
Just
feeding.
something else.
Just something else, and give that a whirl. But yeah, I think you can totally Rocket, we give you the backbone to be able to do that. We are your
Yep.
confidence booster.
Here
You
is
do
your
this.
permission. You can drop that feed
Yeah.
and resettle in a different way.
You can
All
do
right.
it.
Well, that's our 5.
Oh, that's it. Wow.
I
We
know
did that quick.
that went quick. All right. We'll see you on the next episode of Sleep Detectives.
See you later, team. Catch up.
Bye.